There it is.
There you go. Okay, we're here at reUnited again, man. Are we doing this every week or what? We missed Joe and D last time, but here we are back, and we're very excited because we have the Italian faction going. Everybody on here, their name ends in a
Hey.
Yes.
Hey. But
Hey.
the real
Lots
thing
of
is not
vowels
just Italian. We have the Godfather,
Oh, yeah.
Joey.
Hey.
I don't even know you have a title, but even more important than being the Godfather, what a tremendous leader. Probably has one of the largest practices really in the history of chiropractic. Just principled. I mean, you live the principle, more than just about anybody I know, man. It's because of what you do. It's you're also, getting to know you, Joe. You're one of the most loving, like unconditional love just pours out of you. And that's why you're just a magnet to people, man. You don't even live in a big town. It's kind of like the BJ story. You're in a little dinky town, and literally thousands of people are drawn to you and your clinic. So, hey, it's great to have you on here, man. And
Great to be on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you. Give us your story.
The story
of who you are, so people can get an idea of where you came from, what drives you.
Sure. So briefly, I had a health challenge when I was a kid, which was quite severe. I was 11-pound birth, as I tell my story every Monday night when I share chiropractic to new people in our practice, and got hung up in mom's birth canal. They used forceps for 30 minutes. Damaged my, obviously, spinal cord, as we know, right? I'm neurologically impaired, had all kinds of health problems, and basically a rhinacea torticollis. I had like what they defined as an epilepsy, migraine, sensory integration. No, they didn't call it that back then. And I got progressively worse. My parents tried everything traditional, no luck. And my neighbor, Mrs. Nye, she had gone to her whole family, mom and dad and the kids. They all went to a chiropractor. So she talked to my mom and dad, said, geez, you should bring Joey to a chiropractor. My parents really didn't know much, an old Italian immigrant family. And they're like, when I say know much about that. So then they brought me out to this guy, Dr. Thazier, and after medications were causing all kinds of problems. And Dr. Thazier, the first day, he asked my mom and dad about my birth without really any examination. And my mother started to cry. And the doc said, what are you upset about? And my mother said, I've been telling him for the last 4 years that I think it had something to do when he was born because they were pulling on his neck, Joey's neck. And I think that's what caused him to have the problems. And no one basically listened to me. Everybody kind of disregards it. But I truly think, when he came home from the hospital, he wasn't right. He was never right. And the doc said, that's exactly what I think is going on. He took some x-rays and he adjusted me. And about 6 months after I was getting care, my mother tells the story. She saw me playing with my brother Tony and my sisters, and she said I had a spark. She said I had a spark that I never had. And, she defined it as a light, but you can call it that. But, she saw some energy in my body that I never had before. And so my mother in her genius said, wow, if it's good for Joey who's sick, imagine how good it would be for everybody to go. So we, like the Nye family, we started going to chiropractor our whole life. So that's kind of that's what brought me into connection with chiropractic care. However, it always comes down to a girl. When I was in
hey, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
What's so fascinating, man? Because brilliance is in the simplicity. Like, you look at families, and one person gets amazing results, and your mom had the simplest, brilliant thought. Like, if it's good for one, let's bring up family.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, people are trying so hard to build their practice.
Right.
And it's really the simplest thing. Like, you say to the mom, hey, you know what? Has it been great for you? Yeah. Do you think it'd be good for your kids?
Exactly.
Like, that's how you build a big practice.
Right.
Not hard. Don't make it difficult. Right.
Yeah. People overthink too much, though, Fred. As you always say, they think.
Yeah, it's got to be hard. Hey, why don't you bring your kids? If it's good for you, bring your kids.
Yes.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is. I think we come from a place of, I think a large part of us, with the greatest intentions, though, we come from a place of defensiveness, insecurity. You know, we've been beaten up as chiropractors or as a profession or as a brand so much that you almost feel like you have to explain it or over-explain it or present it in a way that, you know, almost from a defensive way to almost, you know, over-educate, if you will. And when I say over-educate, education is important, but educate, I mean, nobody's going to understand proprioception and, you know, nerve transmission. And, you know, they're not really going to get it in that way. You know what I mean? They don't really get it. The average person anyways, you know, just explain it in a way that makes sense to them. And it's pragmatic, and you have to get it. They're the number one sabotager. So if you get them to come up with the idea themselves, then they can't sabotage themselves because you've gotten them to talk themselves into why care is good for them. You know, I mean, that's what happened to my mom, and that's what happened to our family, right? So
well, and you know what's fascinating too. You know, because we coach people, and this is one of your gifts. And I always tell people, if you want to build your practice, take your white coat off and your protector. And this is what you're so great at is, you're Dr. Joe, but you're just Joe.
Right.
Same thing with Joe Ferrantelli. You guys, you're just Joe. And, you know, and I'm Fred. And part of it is like what you said, you're defensive. You have to explain when in reality it's all it really is just be a person and say, hey, you know what? It changed your life. And your kids are growing. I used to use a metaphor that it's like your family's going through the desert, Mom, and you're drinking water.
Right.
I go, if you had one canteen, first of all, you know you wouldn't give it to your husband. So who's the first people you would give it to? And they go, my kids. And I'd say, then why don't you bring them into Mom?
Right.
Get them in here and give them some water. Why are you leaving them at home?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly right.
So it's like it's not about the facts.
Right. Well, you know, we had talked about it when we were in Chicago, Fred, but you know, and Joe, you were just talking about like overcomplicated, overthinking. Like if you ask, I call it the Borio big idea. Getting adjusted is good for you. That's it. That's all you got to do. See, if you ask somebody, if you said, geez, my throat's a little sore, I'm a little sick, and they'd say, hey, take some echinacea, right? So you have a whole group of people out there that fully believe that, and I'm not questioning that it is. It's good for your immune system. But then if you ask them, hey, explain to me, from a scientific standpoint, from a mitochondrial, neutrophil standpoint, from a humoral immune system standpoint, how does it affect the immune system? 99.9% of people couldn't even begin to tell you what it does. Or vitamin C or B12, how it affects the mitochondria. They don't know that. They just know it's good for you. So, you know, chiropractic has to brand itself that getting adjusted is good for you. Who is your chiropractor? Going to the chiropractor and being under care is simply good for you to do. And if you can get them to understand that, they don't need to know all the other stuff. All they need to know is, hey, getting adjusted, hey, you know, it makes sense. Getting straightened out and you know, it helps your nerves and your body work better. Hey, it's good for you. You going to the chiropractor? And that's really, in a sense, that's all they gotta know. You know, they don't need to know all the other stuff, certainly from a scientific standpoint. I mean, the average person, you know, they get that, they got it. So,
although we try to teach everybody when they graduate, all the young docs want to go in there and do an hour report of findings.
Correct.
That's a mistake as well, too.
Correct.
Teaching all the neurology behind the adjustments. And look at you glass-eyed, they have no idea what you're talking about.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it comes from a great place. You know, one of the things I've always said is that, you know, we're now the teacher. You know, and I think early on we come out and we feel like we're the students, so we have to regurgitate everything on them as if we got asked a question. We're the ones that ask the question. We're the teacher now. You know, the true teacher, like Socrates would say, ask a question. You know, how well you want to have somebody learn something, just ask them a question. What tells your body what to do? It's a great question. Instead of standing there telling them what their body, you know, you just say, hey, Bob, what tells your body what to do? How's it get there? What happens if your spine's under stress all day long? Sitting in front of that computer, you work at UPS, you're sorting, bending, twisted. Hey, listen, if I put 100 pounds in the back of your pickup truck, but I put it just on the right side of the back of the pickup truck and I didn't equally disperse it, what's going to happen to the right side of the pickup truck after, I don't know, 20,000 miles? It's going to wear out. All right, so if you're leaning and bending one way, what's that going to do? What goes to, just simple explanations, but asking them questions, they get it. How are you going to fix the truck? You're going to put Advil and hydrocodone in it in the gas tank? Or you're going to straighten it out. Exactly. So lay down on the table and get straightened out. Let's fix it.
I'd like to quote the infamous Joe Borio quote, the one-liner. that fits with us perfectly. And it's like, hey, if you got a chicken bone in your neck, are you going to take an Advil or are you going to get a Heimlich? There's a great question. Now, just to back up that story, we were in the Chicago seminar with all the Italians speaking at Lead Seminar, and we were getting into this conversation out of the car. That's Joe. Hey, here it is. First, you got to do the body language. Hey, if you got a chicken bone in your neck, are you going to take an Advil or are you going to get a Heimlich?
Exactly.
That's a subluxation right there.
Exactly. Well, because I always use the analogy, as you know, I always use it. The analogy is the Heimlich. When you adjust somebody, you're basically doing a Heimlich to the nervous system, because when you do the Heimlich, you're removing an obstruction to the trachea, right? You're removing an obstruction in the nervous system. So.
Yeah, but that's your gift, man, is to be able to look somebody in the eye and not talk about science and here's the reason.
Right.
It's like, hey, you got a chicken bone in your neck. But you know what? People relate to that. They're like, shoot, okay, can you adjust me, please? I need to make an appointment in your office.
Right. They get that. They understand that. Because that's how they talk. Yeah, they don't use, I'll tell you a funny story. I went to a neurologic conference here in Syracuse, and it was a neurosurgeons, and one of these guys I know is a neurosurgeon, Ingold. So he says, hey, Joe, you want to go? I said, yeah, this would be great. So they're showing these horrible cases, and they got a couple docs up there talking about surgery and such. So I get in the elevator, and I'm going to say there's 3 docs in there, me and Harvey, and we're standing in the elevator, and I'm around these neurosurgeons, and I'm waiting to hear this, like, well, did you see the dorsal column, compressed, and the cerebellum, and blah blah blah, and I'm waiting to hear this, and literally the one guy turns to the other guy and says, man, you see how messed up that guy was? Man, it was brutal, it was scary, yeah, man, he was totally screwed up. Like, it was just how average people would speak. That's how they were speaking, and it's just one of those realizations, like, we don't communicate that. We communicate like you and I would communicate. That's how you have to communicate to the people. And when you communicate that way, they understand it better. And again, they convince themselves of why they need to be there. They see the value of it. And therefore, do they stay forever? No, but they certainly will stay longer for the right reason rather than therapeutic. If you run a therapeutic practice, you're always going to be chasing people down, right? If you run a lifetime wellness practice, you're not chasing people down all the time because they stay with you a lot longer. So, because it's good for them,
Yeah,
so.
Cool, man. So, which I want to give you kudos to, because I would say there's probably 3 people in the profession that do lifetime care the best, maybe 4. That's you, Chris Zano, definitely what we teach in Elite, and I'd like to chuck in Steve Franson does a pretty good job too. So when we get lifetime care, you probably have the highest volume with the least amount of new patients of anybody in the profession.
Yes. Yeah, I would say, we're a smaller office now. I'm kind of phasing out, but during that window of time, yeah, we were probably the biggest office. I mean, we had 2 police officers, but we had a police officer out front in the morning and a police officer in the afternoon to help with our traffic flow, just to get people in and out of the office because we're on a busy road. So it was, that was fun. Those were great days where things, even now, I mean, it's still very easy to practice, but those days were. Literally could not. I couldn't physically see another person. I mean, it was amazing. It was unbelievable. So. Well,
yeah, and let's just clarify this too, because everything is perspective. So your smaller office is 300 or 400 a day. Yeah, that's your small.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, 300 to 400 a day, where 300 to 400 a week is a successful practice. So when he says smaller, he says it so humbly. Yeah, we're kind of small now. We saw 376 yesterday, or whatever. 402, or 5, whatever. Yesterday, no, not last week. But it used to be that was your morning. You know what I mean? Yeah, we saw.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It was insane. It was insane.
So anyway, man, I cut you off on all that. So after you found,
no, it's all right. Okay. Yeah, that's how I found chiropractic. But I dated this girl in high school, and her dad was an orthopedic surgeon. So I said, man, I'm gonna, it comes down to a girl. I said, I'm gonna go to medical school, and I went to Brockport. I was a good student. I got accepted to 3 medical schools. I'm on my way to go to medical school, and I had to do a rotation at Strong Memorial Hospital out of Rochester, and I did it. I came home with tears in my eyes. My parents said, "What's up?" And I said, everybody's sick. I didn't think I was going to be around sick people all the time.
That's bullshit right there.
Yeah, yeah. And my dad was like, well, well, that's what you think. That's what you got to do. That my mom was like, my mother literally said to me, why don't you go talk to Dr. Thaser, Bill Thaser was our chiropractor. So I said, all right. I drove my dad's Pontiac Bonneville up to Dr. Thaser's office, came home and said, I'm going to be a chiropractor. So my mother knew before I even left the house, she knew I was going to be a chiropractor. So,
it's kind of funny. It's similar to how I got it. I was going to wanted to go to med school early on. And when you shadow some of the MDs, they were just unhappy.
Yes.
My chiropractor hung out with my chiropractor, and he was happy and loved life.
Yes. Absolutely right, Joe. So that's how I ended up going to chiropractic school, and then I went to National. Great people, but very, in my opinion, it wasn't a chiropractic school, and I came out very medical and struggled in practice for a few years, and I ended up meeting a guy by the name of Reggie Gold, Dr. Reggie Gold, and he just made me the chiropractor that I wanted to be, which is who Dr. Thaser was. Dr. Thaser, I was more of a chiropractor when I went into school than when I came out. And I met Reggie. I hung with Reggie really well. I mean, he was my coach for forever. But
hey,
I mean,
can I cut you off for a sec?
Years. Yeah.
Because there's things that people don't understand that you and we know the story. But when you say you struggled, you thought you were successful when you borrowed half as much money your second year from your dad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I told you that story.
So you're talking about struggling. No, struggling was negative. He had a negative bank account.
Yeah. Negative 24. First year I was down 24,000, and then my dad loaned me 24 without really a blip. And then the second year I said, Dad, he's like, how's things going? I'm like, well, I'm a little shortfall. I'm down. I did twice as good though, but I need to borrow 12.
So when you say struggle, people need to understand where you came from. Because
I wasn't making it.
Where you end up when you see, like you, Billy DeMoss, all these people that literally, when you say struggle, you weren't paying the bills.
Not at all.
Borrowing money to pay the bills.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
If you're better than that, your potential is wherever you want to go.
Exactly. Yep. So I did that, and then my dad actually said, you need to work in another office. Maybe you should try to, associate. Maybe you got to learn something. And coaching was really frowned down upon at National. And so anyways, at that point now I'm, my vessel is empty at that point, right? Now you're like, geez, I'm ready to learn something. I obviously can't figure this out on my own. And then I met Reggie and I became really his pupil for my entire life while he was alive, and trained with him regularly. And then I trained with Jim Sigafus. I trained with Fred. I say trained. I spoke with Fred Barge. I was with Sid Williams, DE, and so I really trained with all those guys that are true, pure chiropractors, and so that has an enormous effect on you because you become the people you hang out with, and that's where every year the practice started. It never went like this, as you go resets, but it really started to go like insanely crazy. So I did really well, and I had a lot of as Fred, because you work with people and coach, and I had a lot of people that would come into my office and they'd be like they'd hold up a pen and you'd have a bent pen and they'd hold your business card that was a little different. And they thought that was the key, and it had nothing to do with any of that stuff. And so I got to that point where I wanted to emulate my teachers, my mentors. And so that's why I started chiropractic consulting. I wanted to be what Reggie was to me. I wanted to be that to other people because he had such a profound effect. He gave me a life and gave me a practice and gave me something to live for and to feel passionate about and serve humanity with. So that's why I got into coaching and mentoring and trying to teach people and coming up with things like not only a program, but different products and different vehicles and effort to help people bring them towards a way to practice and a way to live, which is fantastic. So.
Well, also, even more than what you do is who you are. So when you look at people that see a lot of people, it's not about the people that you see, it's who you are that attracts that people. Because that's what attracts people is who you are, how you live your life. and the great thing is, we're starting this new video series and kind of campaign, so to speak. And the line is, do your patients use chiropractic or do they believe in chiropractic? And there's a big difference. Like the difference is we create chiropractic believers.
Right.
And when they believe chiropractic, they stay for a lifetime. If they use chiropractic, they quit.
Right.
Or they miss their appointment because they have a flu, but they'll go to their MD to get antibiotics with a fever.
Correct.
But they didn't. They canceled their chiropractic appointment.
But they couldn't come in because they were sick.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because they use chiropractic, they don't believe in chiropractic. And one of the great things that you do is create believers. The difference is, who are you? So you look at, you didn't see a shitload of people just because you were coached. I mean, they showed you, but I already know that I know those people. Reggie Gold, mostly Jim Sigafus, but they train a whole mindset and your daily rituals. Like, what are your rituals in the morning, and what were they when you were going up to the top? And your rituals probably changed.
Correct.
Each level of consciousness.
Correct. Right. Every day is, and that's one thing, and I know you do the same thing, is you have to prepare your mind every day. I call it to go to the arena. You have to be in a place that is strong and certain and caring and loving and manifesting, and you have to create that. You have to get yourself into that state. So, I spend a good 45 minutes, I'd say probably longer than an hour, between the ride in, what I listen to. I'm very particular what I listen to in the morning. Like, I would never listen to news. I'm not looking at anything negative. It's music. It's a YouTube video. It's reading science. It's reading philosophy. That's what I prepare my mind with before I start the day, so that when I'm in the day or in the afternoon, I'm automatically going to reflect basically of what I just pumped into my head all day long. Rather than, you watch sports in the morning. I'm not saying not to watch sports, but all of a sudden you realize you're talking sports when you're at the table because you pump that in your head, So you got to prepare your mind for what you are about to embark on that day. And that was very powerful for me. And I started doing that almost 30 years ago. And I still do it. More so today. It's like I said, I think back then I did 15, 30 minutes. Now I'm doing an hour. So. Yeah, very important.
Well, you just said something. Sorry, Joe. Do you have anything you want to say, Joe Ferrantelli?
No. I completely agree. Just going back to, I made the mistake one time and thinking that a TV in my practice was a good idea early on and having the news on. And I found exactly the same thing. Everybody was talking about the news.
Right.
And, nothing to do with chiropractic. And then this went on for like a month until I realized what was going on.
Right.
And not exactly the biggest practice builder.
Yes. Yeah. You don't even know it. And, it's funny you say that, Joe. Like, you don't realize what a leader or the influence that you have in your office until those little events happen. So now, a perfect example, you'll have people that'll come in and I'll watch it manifest in my office, and somebody will come in and talk about the school shooting that just happened, or a car accident or whatever. And, we're an open office. And somebody will say that. Next thing you know, you've got like little micro conversations happening with a group of people. Right. And it's amazing. And then you realize just what I say really has a tremendous effect on what experience you have, as well as what they're going to take away from that office that's going to help either get them further into chiropractic, if you will, or work a little one step further out of chiropractic, right? Exactly. So that's what I learned. So, no matter what you say in the office, it's, if you say to me in the office, wow, did you see the Syracuse University game? They got their butt kicked last night. And I'll say, well, obviously, the other team, Georgetown, had a better chiropractor. I literally will just always, wow, the school shooting. You know what the problem is? That kid, think about how mentally ill he is. He needed to be under chiropractic. I don't care what it is. The weather's a big thing in upstate New York, and it's raining. It's terrible. I got good news for you, Joey. Listen to this. That adjustment I just gave you, it's going to keep the sun shining in you all day long. It's just boom. Chiropractic. I don't allow them to draw me into that conversation. And that means the rest of the office isn't drawn into that conversation.
Right, exactly.
Well, you said a fascinating thing, Joe Borio. We got two Joes. And that is, whatever you, and I'm going to paraphrase, but just explain the principle. Whatever you put in your mind before you get to the office is what you're going to be talking about in the office. Like
Yes.
that simplicity is freaking brilliant. So there's choice on what do you want you and your team talking about. That's why, you know what else is amazing? How many teams don't do pre-shift huddles and get them focused.
Unbelievable. Yeah, we do a huddle every morning, 5 minutes. We do when somebody picks out an article. The staff is chosen. They have to pick out the article. They take turns on who does it. They read it over. We talk about it, and they'll talk about. Sometimes we'll do a case history, and then we'll do a rah-rah, and then we're done. And it's very powerful in the morning, no doubt about it, in the afternoon. So.
Well, as a leader too, I mean, I spent 20 years in human behavior. We talk so much about this, but you control the focus of the office.
Correct.
Yeah, the doctor or the leader controls the focus of the office. And so you prepare your focus before your hand hits the front door.
Yes.
A great leader trains their team to control their focus before their hand hits the front door.
Yeah.
And that's how you grow. That's really how you grow your practice, man. It ain't through getting new patients through marketing. If you do that, if you're diligent about that, you don't need to do a bunch of marketing because your focus is laser sharp.
Correct. You know, they one of the things I listen to, as you do, Fred and Joe, when you guys listen to other docs, and I'll hear this once in a while, and I had heard this recently, and I'll hear somebody say, well, they really needed care. I'll hear that. Well, they really needed care. And, you know, I'll grab that doc and I'll say, well, what do you mean? Like, talk to me. Like, why would you say they really needed care? Well, look at that and look at this. And, well, what about that person? Let's say that person didn't look like that on the x-ray. Does that person really need care? Do you see what you're doing? You don't even know it, but you're creating a therapeutic type practice, or you're creating a symptom-based practice because you're looking at people deciding if somebody really needs care, rather than everybody needs care. If they have a spine and vertebrae and there's stress in their life, which everyone needs care equally. And who's more valuable, the person that prevents that person from ever looking like that, or the person that is going to address the illness and sickness that's developed from the person who's ignored it? You know, I mean, I look at the person that's actually more valuable that could prevent it. So, you know, where are you placing your value? Where are you placing your focus? So the minute you start saying words like they really need it or he really needs it, I'm telling you right now, that alone is a paradigm, if you will, crack. You got to look at that paradigm and say, geez, when I look at anybody with a subluxation, they really need care, not the people who you think are more arthritic or have something else, because you're going to start chasing around all these other people, and all the other people are ignored. They're neurologically impaired because they're not getting adjusted. You know, we don't even know it because we were brought up in that allopathic paradigm. So, you know, you got to realize that getting adjusted, being under chiropractic care is a requirement and a necessity to be healthy. Bottom line in the story. I mean, you got to start from that premise. And if you don't own that, then you got to immerse yourself in the science, philosophy, and the metaphysics of what chiropractic is, so that when you step out of that, you're like, okay, I get it. And I can look at you with 100% authority and clarity and integrity and say, this is what you need to do. Mm-hmm. And not even blip when I say that this is the care that you need. You know what I mean? I don't even want to I shouldn't be doubting it for one syllable, nothing. And if you do, then don't tell them that until you're at that level, right? So, or understanding is probably a better way to say it. So,
you know, I always tell people this is something, here's a problem that people make right along the same vein as what you're saying. Is when you look at high volume practitioners, and it doesn't have to be your goal to be high volume,
sure.
But one of the reasons people see volume is not just because of new patients. It's because they do have retention. Now, are there people that get a boatload of new patients and they have a new patient machine without retention? You know, that's not the principle of chiropractic. However, the problem is a subluxated spine. It's got to be black or white. Meaning you're either not subluxated. When you look at people that see a lot of people, are you subluxated? That's really the question. If you are subluxated, you need to be under care. And if you are subluxated, shutting down energy of the body, your body's in a state of disease. I don't have to freaking measure whether it's 10% energy be shut down, 50% or 2%.
Correct.
If it's being shut down, I don't care if it's 2% or 60%. The bottom line is you're subluxated.
Correct.
If you're not, and you have 100% nerve energy expression and health and great curves and strength in your body.
Correct.
You either have that or you don't. The problem people create is they put people in the gray area.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When you communicate gray, you're either in a state of disease, meaning your body's subluxated, or you're in the state of optimal health. It's black or white.
Sure.
If you talk gray, you confuse patients. Now you created a variable in their mindset.
Correct. I mean, do you assess the amount of plaque on your teeth in the morning before you decide to brush, or how you're going to brush, or how long you're going to brush your teeth?
That's a great point.
Right? I mean, you're just going to brush them. You're just going to get up in the morning. You're going to do the exact same thing. You know, I've said this many times. I mean, I love James Cheston. He's great. Well, but when I listen to him, he says, you know, that's a great point. Let me have a study. So I took that when I listened to him say that many years ago, and I said, oh, that's interesting. I got about 20 dentists in my office. I'm going to ask them, hey, what's your recommendation? I literally did this. What's your recommendation brushing teeth? Oh, twice a day. Well, do you have the science on it? Like, is there a study that you can tell me? They don't fucking know. They don't know.
Nice. Hey, you're on the podcast. It's okay.
Yeah. They don't have a study. They don't even know what I'm talking about to answer the question. What do you mean a study? I don't know. Somebody told them to do it twice a day. They couldn't study. I'm not saying that's not right, but my point is that we walk around thinking that we have to just listen. Is a crooked? Just ask somebody. Listen, your spine's crooked. What's healthier, crooked or straighter? What do you want to be? You want to look like that? Or you want to look like that? Why? Well, that's better. Why? I don't know. It looks better. It's got to be better. It is better. So, I mean, it doesn't have to,
I like,
anything. So, you know, we use the plant example. You know, why is the plant sick? How's the plant get well? You know, what are you going to do with the plant? And then what's beautiful about that analogy I love, and I know you've heard it before, is I always ask people, listen, now let's go back to the plant again. No, everyone said water, sun, nutrients. Nobody said Advil. Nobody said Prozac. Nobody said Lipitor. Nobody said MRI. No one said CT scan. No one said I need to diagnose the problem. You just looked at the plant and said, Jesus, the reason it's sick is nobody's caring for it. So let's look at you guys. Why do you think you're sick? If you're meant to be well, why are you sick? I'm not caring for myself. So how do we get you well? More drugs? More surgeries? I'm not saying it's never necessary, but or what? No, we start to, and how long is it going to take? You know, and again, you just ask questions. They already know what it is. They all know chiropractic. That's the thing. It's like James Parker said, it's a process of shedding. All you got to do is just ask a few questions, and you said it so great, Fred. You said you're the leader. You direct it. By asking the question, you always command the conversation, and you'll always direct the conversation where you want. So, you know, you want to be healthier or sicker? What tells your body what to do? Is the nerve better or worse if I step on it? You know what I mean? How would you want to make the nerve better? So if the bone's pressing on it, what's the difference if I'm stepping on it? You know, take the pressure off. How am I going to do that? You know, I mean, again, just asking them simple questions. What tells your heart what to do? What tells your liver what to do? If I press it on the nerve, does the liver get better? How's chiropractic care going to help my sinuses? Well, let me ask you a question. What tells your sinuses what to do? My nervous system. And so if I press it on the nerves, does the sinus get better or worse? Worse. So you tell me how, oh, I see, because it would take the pressure. Yeah. Now they own it. No one will ever talk them out of that ever in their life. You know what I mean? It's that simple, right? People go to death. They'll fight you to death about brushing their teeth twice a day. They couldn't cite a study on it, right? You got to brush your teeth twice a day. And think about people spend 1,500 minutes a year brushing their teeth. How many minutes did you spend brushing your spine, flossing your spine? None, zero. 40 years goes by, you didn't brush your teeth. You go to the dentist, you say, Doc, listen, it's been 40 years. I thought I'd come in for your $37 checkup, see what my teeth are doing. What do you expect to see? They're going to look horrible. So you're 40 years old. You've never had your spine checked or adjusted ever. What do you think it's going to look like? It's probably not going to look so good. I mean, they say it. I don't have to say it.
I used to say that to people, and they would say, well, I never knew. I never knew I was supposed to. I go, so you do now. What are you going to do?
Right, exactly.
Well, now you know. Now what are you going to do for the next 50 years?
Right. Here's the toothbrush. What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Here it is.
And I'll tell you, I mean, I won't say never, but I'm going to say never anyway. I don't remember, let's just say, I won't say never, but I'll say I don't remember one person when you said, so you know now, what are you going to do for the next 50 years? And they say, I'll take care of it for the rest of my life. I can't remember one person not committing to care when I said that.
Correct.
Because it's so simple. It's all the stuff you're saying.
Yes. You know, one of the stories,
that's responsibility.
The story I start off with every Monday. I mean, I change it up a little bit, but since January, I changed my story again a little bit. But now I use the car. I say, listen, if you're going down the road and going down the highway You ever drive down the highway and you see this beautiful antique car, maybe it's 80, 90 years old, and you're like, my God, the thing's doing 50, 60 miles an hour. It's right next to me. My God, it's an old Packard, whatever. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's cruising along. People are in there. They're happy. They're enjoying their life. They're proud of driving that car, right? You with me on that? Can you visualize it? Yeah, I got it. Okay, so let's say I go to an automobile graveyard. Now, I'm in an automobile graveyard, and I see exactly the same car, the same model, the same color, the same year, exactly the same car, but this thing is in a heap of rusted pile, and it's rotten. Would you say there's a different story between those two cars? They're the same age. Would you say there's a different story? What's the different story? What's the different story? What car do you want to be? You know, and that's where I start my money, and that gets it. You know, that car was taken care of. That car was cared for. You know, so that gets them under the idea already that we're talking about lifetime care. We didn't even say chiropractic yet. We're talking about caring for something, and it makes that anchoring of, oh, okay, I need to care for the car. That makes it, well, I care for myself. I can be 80 and 90 years old, and if you will, look beautiful, driving down the highway, enjoying my life. That's right where I open it up into chiropractic, and then boom, I go right into my chiropractic story. So it's powerful. It's an analogy. So, you know, throw that out there for anybody who wants to use it. So,
hey, is that in a workshop you're saying?
I do that at the beginning of my any we call our Monday nights or Monday night doctor report. That's what I start.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So when you said Monday, I'm like, you're not going through that with the new patients. That's your workshop.
Oh yeah, no, that's my Monday night. Yeah, I mean, I'll use it at the table sometimes along with other things. So. You know.
Right.
Well, you know, and then in human behavior, this is NLP, man. If you want to accelerate the rate at which someone learns, then you not only ask questions, but you use analogies and metaphors.
Yeah.
And because when you see, because what you just did, if the listeners, I mean, you're listening, yet when he was just, and you're watching the video, but as he's describing it, you're picturing that old car all polished up in your head.
Yes.
And so when people get an image in their head and they have an emotion to it, like they see, wow, that's a really cool car. So it's one thing in NLP is you enlighten their senses. Man, you know, it smells great. You know, imagine that. Yeah. You know, the wind's in your hair.
Yes. The people in the car, they're having a good time. They're enjoying it. They're good about it. They're proud about it.
Screwed up. And then it puts them in a different physiology.
Yes.
And that's what burns in their memory. You never have to tell them again, because we teach this principle and you do it automatically, is you don't want to teach people what to think. If you teach them what to think, they're going to forget. But if you teach them how to think, they will never forget.
They'll never forget it.
They'll never forget because you taught them how to think, not what to think.
And we use a couple of different analogies. So what's beautiful is if you get and it's normal, they walk out of your office. I mean, all you guys know, right? We all practice. So they get out of your office. It's a dilution every time they leave. So when they come back in, if they need to be reoriented, all you got to do is go back to that initial analogy or one of those initial analogies. And it's literally that instant. It's that of an instant, you know? So, hey, Doc, do you think I could, I'm doing pretty good. You think I could go down to one time a week now? You know, I just say, well, how often do you brush your teeth?
Yep.
Why do you do that? Yeah, I was going to see, let me push out my care a little bit. And I want to see how far I can push it out, see how I feel. You ever get that? I go, do you do that with your toothbrush? Well, what do you mean? I mean, do you ever do that? You know, geez, I brush my teeth twice a day. They feel pretty good. I'm going to push it out, I don't know, like a week or two and see how they feel then. And they giggle and they go, no. And I'm like, why? So why do you brush them if they don't hurt? You know, so take care of something that's healthy now is the surest way, right? Listen, how long are these meant to last for? My lifetime. So is your liver. It wasn't like God figured your teeth out, but struggling on your liver. Like, I don't know. I can't. Archangel Michael, I can't figure the liver or the pancreas out. But I tell you, I nailed the teeth. I can't, so, that's where I'll say right at the table and they get it. They're like, oh, I get it. Why do you spend 1,500 minutes a year taking care of your teeth? Yeah. How many minutes have you taken care of your spine for? Why do you think it's sick?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's great is when you've been educating your patients in open style adjusting, and when they ask you a question, the other patients answer for you.
Totally.
And people that people that don't set up their office that way, they're missing such a great opportunity for educating without even the effort.
Yes.
You know,
I'll say, Joe, that you're better off, you know, and I don't mean to offend some docs, because I know some docs, you know, you can't say much in chiropractic without offending somebody, no matter what it is. But I say be a better teacher than an adjuster. You know, be a better teacher, because if you're a better teacher, even if you're not a great adjuster, at least they're getting adjusted. But if you're a great adjuster and a lousy teacher, you got crickets in your office. You ain't putting your hands on a lot of people. So unfortunately, right now, we got to be great teachers. Down the road, we can be great adjusters, and everyone will get chiropractic. But until they get it, we got to be great teachers.
Well, yeah, if you're not a great teacher, you don't have an opportunity to be a great adjuster. So, and that's what, yeah, we always say that. It's like when you realize that your primary responsibility is to teach, then you have the opportunity to be a healer. But if you can't teach, you can't be a healer. You can't adjust anymore.
Right. You know, think about all the energy that we waste. I mean, I say this a lot, you know, if everyone got chiropractic like an orthodontist, you know what I mean? I mean, mom brings Billy in. She did her spinal checkup. You know, Billy's teeth are crooked. He needs braces. You know, the dentist isn't going, okay, now let me explain what orthodontics is all about, and let me do a group talk Monday night so that everybody understands what's going on. And then they're, if you will, trying to sell a care plan because, you know, the mother's like, well, I don't know, you know, I mean, that doesn't happen. They go into the orthodontist, they know it's 3 to 5 years, it's $5,000, and they're going to be wearing braces. Like, it's that quick. I mean, you know, we got to get people on their chiropractic understanding that point that, you know, womb to the tomb. You come in, the baby's born, they get adjusted, they get checked regularly throughout their lifetime. That's the way it is. I mean, just like going to a barber, just like getting your teeth cleaned, you go into the gym, eating good, those are the things you got to do. I mean, if we put it out that way, that it's good for you and the adjustment's good for you, and that's really where you come from, and you don't come from a therapeutic, you know, the minute you attach it to a therapeutic, you're losing. Because if their back pain goes away, they're gone. If their back pain doesn't go away, they're gone. If their back pain gets worse, they're gone. You never will have them in your office. But if you say, listen, it's about the spine, it's about the nervous system, it's about caring for it, and it's about keeping you well for the rest of your life, you know, no matter what else they throw at you, you can always go back to that analogy. They're much more likely to stay with you for a long, long time. There's no doubt about it. So
absolutely.
Well, and creating a lifetime patient isn't really about giving them information, because everything you said tonight, very little of it was information. They were analogies and metaphors and stories and things that people relate to in their everyday life. And the difference, and that's where we come back to the beginning, you're not always going to change a person's belief system with information.
Right. Exactly.
But, and if your intention, like what you've done with your use of analogies and metaphors and relating to things they use in their day. See, when you, like the analogy of brushing their teeth, someone says, well, how often do you brush your teeth? They believe that twice a day is great, even though there's no studies.
Correct.
Yeah, so what you're doing with that is you're changing their belief system by aligning with another belief system. I mean, that's literally on
totally anchored with something they own.
And so when they believe, when their belief system changes, you don't have to sell them another care plan. They're already walking up with a check. You don't have to do all this stuff for lifetime care. You don't have to ask them to make their appointments, just like you don't have to, you know, the dentist just doesn't have to call them to remind them to brush their teeth.
Correct. You know, we were sitting there with some clients, and we do an open forum when they ask me questions, and they'll say, "Hey doc, I've got to ask you a question." I had to say, and I know you get this all the time, Fred. So this is what they said, and this is what I said. And the minute they say that, I kind of smile, and they're like, "Why are you laughing?" And I say, "Well, see, you're losing it right there, because you said this is what I said. My question to you is, what did you ask?" That's where you want to go. Ask them a question. You can direct the entire conversation by asking a question. Instead, you're like, well, you know, Fred, this is what the adjustment does, and this is why I do it, and this is why you need it. And that's what the whole profession does. I just say, well, Fred, that's interesting. I appreciate that. Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Did you brush your teeth this morning? Why? You know, it takes them right out of chiropractic, right into an analogy.
That's their pattern, too.
Right. And then you reconnect it to what you do as a chiropractor. All of a sudden, they're like, okay, I get that. But if you're over there telling them, right, good question, telling somebody they got to bring their kids in versus, listen, who needs care? Tell me what I can do to help you to get your kids in. I mean, that's an entirely different mindset.
It's about 10 times easier too.
And it's easier. You're not trying to. That's why docs get burned out. They feel like they're selling it all day long. They're pushing it. I look at it this way: everybody in my office already knows chiropractic. Everyone knows their brain tells their body what to do, and it communicates through the spine. And everyone knows that a sick, crooked, diseased spine isn't going to make their body healthier. Everybody knows that. There isn't a person walking that doesn't know that. So all you got to do is bring it out in them by asking a few questions, and they get it. And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense." That's all you got to do. That's it.
Yep. Well, shoot, man, we've been on here, I think, about 45 minutes so far. So, just let me ask you a question. You know, I mean, you've practiced, you still practice, and Chiro Passion, you know, just knowing you personally, that's something you really want to expand. You want to make more of an impact in the profession.
Yes.
What do you see, man? What do you see for yourself? What do you see for the profession? Where you're going today and where you want to take this into the future?
Yeah, you know, Fred, I only told the story one time. It was at your event. It was more recent, if you remember. But I I did a lot of flying. I developed a blood clot in my right leg that had gone from my ankle into my pelvis, and it had broken off and gone into my chest. I had 12 clots in my chest. My left lobe was a full clot. I had what they call a saddle block through the pulmonary vein or pulmonary arteries. And the doc, when they wheeled me into the emergency room, urgent care or the intensive care, they said that you know, I don't know if you're gonna make it. I mean, if there's something you want to say, you better say it. You know, so I'm laying there with a fucking heparin thing in my neck, and I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna die right now. Like I can't, this sucks, you know. But I will tell you that, and I said it at your event, you know, the real moment, you know, I'm ready, not that I'm in a rush to go, but I'm, you know, we're all gonna go to the next stage, and I get that. Well, my biggest disappointment was Chiro Passion hasn't been created the impact. I don't even want to use the word success. It hasn't created the impact that my practice has. And that's really what I thought. That was my moment there of laying there like, wow, you know what? I did well in football. I did well in boxing. I did well in sports. I did really well in chiropractic where I was able to make an impact. And I just didn't create that impact. So that was really my wake-up call where I said, you know, after the summer that I really wanted to I wanted to be what Reggie and Sid and Sigafus were to me. I want to be that to other people, not out of ego, but I want to have that level of impact so I can create other people in their life and success. So that's why I started Chiro Passion, but that's really been my new fire moving forward. So we started a coaching program, as you know, and one of the things we do, which we have a few of your group in it. We started Success Club. So that's a great program. It's $99 a month, and you can join our Success Club, and it's got scripts, but it also has a lot of, and you know, Fred, because you're in it, right? So it's got philosophy, and it's got protocols and procedures, mindset, communication skills. I mean, it's got everything. So I love it, and it's something we really love to do. So for a lot of docs, if maybe they're already with a program and they're looking for a little Borio in their life, or if they're maybe, you know, as you know, Fred, some people aren't ready to coach, they're not ready for the commitment, or they're not ready maybe financially to make that commitment. It's a great way for them to get something, I think, that's highly valuable for a very affordable price. We do it $25 a month for a student, if you're a chiropractic student. And to be honest with you, that's my biggest push right now. That really is our biggest push right now, to grow our success program so that people can, because we got people in there in a lot of different coaching programs, and yet they'll still get something, because you can learn something from everybody, as you know. So we got that. We got our event coming up next weekend in Chicago. Unfortunately, Fred's not going to be there, but we've got that coming up 9th and 10th. You can register right on our website. So that's where we want to go. We want to create a big impact, as I know you do. And one of the other things I would share is, you know, I love working with you. So you've been at every mastermind event, I think, the last couple of years, and we're going to be at Atlanta. So I'm anticipating you'll be there as well.
Yeah.
And I love I love the idea. Like Tim Young runs a consulting program as well. You know, he's speaking at our event. I've spoken at his event, and having you there, and you know, me being at yours. I just love that. That's where the profession needs to go. You know, where hey, you got these guys that are mentors and teachers and you're willing to just work with each other and share what you do to help the profession, and it totally comes from that place. And there isn't this sense of coveting, or you know, it's just awesome. I mean, I get goosebumps just talking about it. And I've always had that dream with chiropractic, and I love to have that friendship with you because of that, and other leaders as well. It's an honor. So.
Well, yeah, so you're going to be speaking at our. Sorry, Joe.
Well, I was just going to say, if they want to find out more information, it's chiropassionconsulting.com.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Chiropassionconsulting.com is our consulting website. Success Club is chiropassionconsulting.com/success club. So, and it's a private secret, so you can't find it. You know, and it's a group you can just sign up online. There's no contract. Stay as long as you want. And if you love it, great. If you don't find value, you know, puts the onus on me that I got to make sure I'm giving you value all the time. Then don't stay with us. Then you're free to go. So I think we have 74 guys, 73 guys on it right now, and
nice.
It's great. It's growing. We're growing quite a bit here the last few months, so it's been exciting. So
awesome. Well, I mean, when you look at your mindset, man, I mean, there's everybody can learn. I mean, we learn from each other.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
I mean, I'm taking notes when you're speaking at our seminars. There you go, brother. Look at that.
I got Dr. Fred. I got a whole chunk in this book right here. Every time, and I have some blank pages because every time I go to your event, I just sit up in the front row and I freaking become a sponge, man. It's like, God, that's good. Damn it. Fred told me that last year, and son of a bitch, I didn't tweak it right. I got to tweak it again, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah,
it is awesome.
Speaking at our annual event in Chicago, October 19, 20. Joe, you need to get those dates down. October 19, 20. You know, we have boot camps throughout the year that teach you not only a lot of the principles that Joe just talked about, but really how to create chiropractic believers, how to go from patients using chiropractic into chiropractic believers. So you can find our stuff on elitecoachingllc.com. Would definitely join.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Fred, did you come out? I remember at our event you were talking about you were going through the stages specifically from a mindset and position, to close somebody. When I say close somebody, develop lead, I think that's what we're talking about. So you had done that at our event, and that was phenomenal. We have a couple of our clients that attend your workshops. I mean, it's just nothing but, you know, phenomenal raves about obviously who you are and what you teach, and pretty awesome. So it's you know, certainly for anyone listening, if you're not working with Fred, I think you're making a mistake as well. I sit there and listen. You know, sometimes, Fred, you say a lot of things come naturally to me, and I guess that's true because it's probably from my dad. But sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing, and when I listen to you, I'm like, oh, that's why I do that, or that's why that works. But I didn't have the formal knowledge that you teach. So the beauty of that is for somebody it doesn't come natural or had Papa Borio as their dad, you can learn how to do it through you and learn the science behind it, you know, which is very, very powerful. I know Gigi, as you know, and you're friends with her as well. I mean, she's gotten so much out of that, and that was her big takeaway. I hear Joe do it, and I emulate what he does, but I don't really know why, and I don't even know that he does. But when I listen to Fred teaches me why to do it that way and why that works, you know, so it's such a perfect compliment. So
cool. I appreciate that. So, hey, Joe Ferrantelli, you want to give a shameless plug about what things you're involved in?
Yeah, I'm involved in a lot, but anybody that has any questions about any of our software, postureanalysis.com, I'm really excited about, we debuted and we're just now starting to tell people about it. We basically have what people would call telemedicine, but for telespinal screenings, virtual spinal screenings we could do now with consumer apps. And the doctor and the staff can actually do virtual screenings remotely, have potential patients screen their husbands or wives or friends, coworkers sitting at their desk. We have a seated analysis, and all the assessments take place back at the doctor's office. So it's all done remotely. So for more information, just go to postureanalysis.com.
Right on. Well, cool. Thanks so much, Joe Borio and Joe Ferrantelli, for just telling us your story, Joe, man. It was just so freaking enlightening as always. You know, and I just want to, you know, we kind of began this way. It was a little chopped up on the introduction, but it's easy to see that you really are a person. You love humanity. You love people. You care about them. And just the brilliance in the simplicity is, I think, really comes from, you know, I can't say it was something you were taught. It's who you are. Of course, you know, Papa Borio probably gave you a bunch of one-liners when you were a kid, no doubt.
Sure.
But really, I think the origin of that is you just really love and care about people, man, and you speak to them on their level because you love them. You're not above them, but you care about them, and that's why, you know, you have these simple yet brilliant stories.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Joe, I love that. I just got in. I know we got to go, but I didn't know that you did. I love that virtual. So I'm going to look that up. I didn't know you were doing that. And then, so you and I need to talk. So we'll connect on Facebook tomorrow.
Absolutely, my friend.
And, yeah, let's look into it. And then I can have you do a podcast webinar with our group. That would be great. I'm sure they'd love it. So
absolutely.
Done. You got to give them the Car Passion discount, though. I mean, I'm just saying. You got to take care of the peeps. You got to take care of the peeps. You know what I'm saying?
Italian.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, you guys. We're coming at you. We got a whole lineup of great people coming next week. We're going to be talking with Neil Cohen of Sherman College.
Oh, awesome,
Sherman, who's actually, you know, looking at the CVP clubs in there, and you know, great. They're doing great things at Cordero, and you're on the board, right, Joe? So
I am. Yeah, I'm on the board. Yeah.
That's great.
All right, gang. We love you guys. We'll be coming at you again.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take care.